Ever since I started making videos back in 2008, I've always gravitated towards camcorders. I loved the idea of having a giant camera to make silly videos. I guess I fell in the trap of bigger means better. However, in 2018, I finally decided to look into cameras with interchangeable lenses. It just so happened that the newest Sony mirrorless APS-C camera had just come out, the Sony A6400. But anyway, sort of the one that I have been looking at the most recently, this is actually a brand new camera. It's the Sony A6400. Then in March 2019, I could finally call the Sony A6400 my own. When I first got this camera, I was a total noob. But a year later, I think I feel comfortable enough to give my definitive review of the Sony A6400. Let's start off with the body. The Sony A6400 is a generally small and compact mirrorless camera. I guess we'll start with the flagship feature, the flip-up screen. This is one of my favorite features of the A6400. Since I usually make videos of myself, it's so helpful to be able to see myself as I'm recording the video. However, the flip-up screen does bring one annoyance with this camera, and that is that if you use an external mic on top of this camera, you won't actually be able to see the screen. One of the workarounds is to use one of these L brackets. Small Rig also has an accessory that moves the mount to the side. Overall though, as someone who has never used a mirrorless camera before, I can't imagine using a camera that doesn't have one of these flip screens. Now in terms of buttons, I think the Sony A6400 offers a lot. Keep in mind that I'm coming from a Sony HDR CX900 camcorder, so I'm used to having a lot of buttons and dials to do most of my manual controls. Switching from physical to software-based manual controls was a bit to wrap my head around. For example, on my camcorder, I could just press a button to set the white balance, but on the A6400, you do have to kind of click through to go to the white balance. Overall though, the A6400 does offer a lot of buttons, and almost every single one can be reprogrammed to a custom control. So I think that's pretty cool. Now let's talk about software. Let me just say that the Sony camera software isn't great. Just looking at it, it screams bland and boring. On top of that, you have menus on top of menus on top of menus. There are so many menus that it can become frustrating just trying to find what you're looking for. Overall, it's not the worst software I've ever used because at least everything is there, but I do think there is much room for improvement. Now that we got the menu system out of the way, the one major software feature that makes this Sony camera so amazing is the Sony Imaging Edge mobile app. Basically, you download this app on your phone, and it allows you to wirelessly control your camera. You can get a preview feed on your phone, adjust the manual settings, and even send photos and videos from the camera to your phone. So the mobile app is top-notch in my opinion. I'm not gonna go too deep into the internals of this camera. I'll leave a link in the description to a spec sheet if you really want to dive into the internals. But the very basic specs include 24.2 megapixels, 1080p video up to 120 frames per second, and 4K video at 30 frames per second. I will say that it is a bit of a bummer that this camera doesn't support 60 frames per second at 4K, but again, it's not a deal breaker for me. Now, I have two favorite internal features of the A6400. First off, the autofocus. The autofocus in this camera is amazing. It uses 425 phase detection autofocus points with 0.02 seconds autofocus time. Again, as a one-person crew, the autofocus is very handy if I need to shoot photos or videos of myself and I can't be adjusting the focus. And finally, the main feature that actually drew me to this camera is the lack of recording limit. Most digital cameras have a 30-minute record limit, meaning that after 30 minutes of recording, it'll automatically stop. However, the Sony A6400 was the first Sony mirrorless camera that got rid of that record limit. Since I usually shoot in really long intervals, this was the feature that really sold me on this camera. Overall, the Sony A6400 is a very solid mirrorless APS-C camera that is ideal for people like me who are just starting out with mirrorless cameras. It offers many user-friendly features that make it really easy to pick up and capture. Obviously, there are a lot of professional level features that I missed in this video, such as the ability to shoot in different picture profiles, but this was just my personal view on this camera. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts in the comments, and while you're doing that, feel free to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and hit that notification bell. For now, my name is Chase, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.